Professor Taiwan checked his data tablet one last time before entering the lecture hall. Today's class would either make or break his career at the Galactic University of Sciences. The amphitheater-style room was filled with students from over 50 different species, their varied forms creating a living rainbow of colors, shapes, and sizes. Some floated in anti-gravity chambers, others sat in specialized chairs designed for their unique body structures, and a few even stayed in climate-control pods. The quiet murmur of universal translators filled the air as students chatted before class. Taiwan walked to his podium, his four-fingered hands slightly shaking as he arranged his materials. He looked up at his audience, noting how the light from the three suns of this planet created strange shadows through the crystal dome above. The professor's deep blue skin seemed to shimmer as he took a deep breath. "Today," he began, his voice clear and steady despite his nerves, "we will discuss the most dangerous species in the known universe." The chatter stopped immediately. Several students leaned forward in their seats. A holographic display activated behind him, showing a rotating image of a planet that looked rather unremarkable, mostly blue with green and brown landmasses. Several students laughed, their various forms of amusement creating an odd symphony of sounds. "This," Taiwan continued, pointing to the image, "is Earth, home to the species we call humans." More laughter followed, but this time with a hint of confusion. A student from the third row raised one of their tentacles. "Professor, there must be some mistake. Humans are not even a Class 2 threat in the galactic database. They barely left their solar system 200 years ago." Taiwan smiled, showing his teeth in what he had learned was a human gesture of friendliness. "Ah, but that is exactly why they are so dangerous. We have all made the mistake of judging them by our standards." He tapped his tablet, and the hologram changed to show a human running. "What you see here is a human performing what they call persistence hunting. Before they had advanced tools, they would chase their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion." The room grew quiet. A student in an anti-gravity chamber spoke up, their crystalline form reflecting the sunlight. "But Professor, that makes no sense. The energy cost would be too high." "That's what makes humans unique," Taiwan replied. "They evolved on a death world with such harsh conditions that they developed traits no other species has combined before." He changed the hologram again, this time showing humans in various situations: climbing mountains, diving into oceans, walking through deserts, and surviving in frozen wastelands. "My research over the past 20 years has led me to a conclusion that many of my colleagues find controversial." Taiwan paused, looking around the room. "Humans are not just another intelligent species. They are the apex predators of the universe, and most of us haven't even realized it yet." The room erupted in protests and questions. A small insectoid student buzzed loudly. "But they're so fragile. No natural armor, no claws, weak muscles compared to many species." Taiwan held up his hand for silence. "By the end of this lecture series, you will understand why these seemingly weak creatures are the most formidable species we have ever encountered. And more importantly," he added, his voice growing serious, "why we should be very grateful that they prefer making friends to making war." As if on cue, his assistant Dr. Jai-yun entered the room, carrying a sealed container. The students watched with a mixture of curiosity and disbelief as she placed it on the desk. "Now," Taiwan said, reaching for the container, "let me show you something that will change everything you think you know about human capability." Dr. Jai-yun opened the sealed container, and the class watched as she carefully lifted out what appeared to be an ancient stone tool. Professor Taiwan activated a force field around it, allowing the object to float in midair where everyone could see it. "This," he said, "is a human throwing spear from roughly 50,000 years ago." He manipulated the controls, making the spear rotate slowly. Notice the perfect balance, the carefully shaped point, the way the weight is distributed. A student with multiple eyes blinked in sequence. "But Professor, many species made simple tools during their evolution." "Ah." Taiwan smiled. But how many species made tools to hunt creatures bigger and stronger than themselves? How many used tools to become the dominant species on a planet filled with far more physically powerful animals? The holographic display changed to show Earth's prehistoric creatures, giant mammals with thick fur and long tusks, enormous cats with teeth like knives, and massive horned beasts that could crush trees. Humans didn't just survive alongside these creatures. Jai Yun added, stepping forward. They hunted them. Successfully. Regularly. She pulled up data charts showing fossil records and ancient human settlements. The crystalline student from earlier chimed in. But that doesn't make sense. The energy cost of hunting such large prey. Exactly. Todd One exclaimed. That's what makes humans unique. They developed something no other species had before. Endurance hunting. They couldn't outrun their prey, but they could outblast it. The display changed to show a simulation of early humans hunting. The class watched as a group of humans pursued a large animal under the hot sun. Hour after hour, they'd followed it, never letting it rest, never letting it cool down, until the creature simply couldn't go on. But there's more, Jai Yun continued. Look at their social structure during these hunts. The simulation zoomed out, showing how the hunters communicated and coordinated. They didn't just chase their prey. They worked together, used the landscape, planned ahead. A student floated forward in their anti-gravity pod. Professor, are you suggesting their predatory nature comes from their minds rather than their bodies? Both, actually, Todd One replied. He brought up a new display showing human biological systems. Their bodies evolved to support their hunting style. Sweat glands for cooling, allowing them to run for hours. Upright posture for efficient movement. Hands that could throw weapons with deadly accuracy. Jai Yun added another piece to the display, a human brain. And their minds evolved to match. Pattern recognition to track prey, spatial awareness to predict movement, and most importantly, the ability to share knowledge across generations. This is why modern humans are so dangerous, Todd One said, his voice growing serious. They never lost these traits. They just applied them to new situations. The display showed humans throughout their history, advancing from spears to bows, from swords to guns, from simple machines to spacecraft. Every human advancement, he continued, every piece of technology, every scientific breakthrough, comes from the same mind that evolved to be the perfect pursuit predator. They don't just invent tools, they weaponize their own curiosity. The room had grown very quiet. Even the usually restless students were still, watching as the display showed humanity's rapid technological advancement. And that, Todd One concluded, is just the beginning of why humans are the apex predators of the universe. Next, we'll look at how their physical capabilities set them apart from every other known species. As the professor prepared for the next part of his lecture, the students watched the floating spear with new eyes, seeing it not as a primitive tool, but as the first step in humanity's journey to the stars. Professor Todd One activated a new hologram showing a human skeleton. Today, we examine what makes humans physically unique, he said, rotating the image. But first, we have a guest. The doors opened, and a tall figure walked in. The students gasped. It was a human. He wore the simple blue uniform of a galactic university student and carried himself with casual confidence. This is Hanul, Todd One introduced. He's one of only 5 humans studying at our university. He has agreed to help with today's demonstration. Hanul smiled and waved at the class. Several students moved back in their seats, while others leaned forward with interest. Professor, a crystalline student spoke up. Isn't it dangerous to have a predator species in our classroom? Hanul laughed, the sound echoing in the quiet room. I had breakfast before coming here, so you're all safe, he joked. Some students nervously joined his laughter. Actually, Todd One said, that reaction is exactly what we're going to discuss. Hanul made a joke about hunting, and many of you showed fear. But look at him. No claws, no fangs, no natural armor. Why do you fear him? Dr. Jai-yun stepped forward with a scanning device. Let's look at human physical capabilities. She scanned Haenul, projecting his internal structure next to the skeleton. Humans have something remarkable, she explained. They're not the strongest, fastest, or most durable. They're the most average, and that's their advantage. Taiwan nodded. Most species excel in one area, but are limited in others. Humans can adapt to almost any situation. Haenul, please demonstrate a few basic movements. They watched as Haenul ran, jumped, climbed an artificial wall, threw objects with precision, and performed complex hand movements. Nothing spectacular by human standards, but the combination impressed the alien audience. Now, Taiwan continued. Watch this. He showed video footage of humans in extreme situations: deep sea diving, mountain climbing, surviving in deserts and Arctic conditions. Humans can survive in temperatures from -50 to +50 degrees Celsius with minimal protection. They can go weeks without food, days without water, and still function. They can heal from injuries that would kill most species, and they get stronger when damaged. The class murmured in disbelief. Haenul rolled up his sleeve, showing a scar. I broke this arm 2 years ago. The bone is now stronger at the break point than it was before. But here's what makes them truly dangerous, Jai-yun added. She displayed brain scans of humans in various situations. They can override their physical limitations. Their bodies tell them to stop, and they choose not to. That's impossible, a student protested. Pain exists to prevent damage. No species can just ignore it. Haenul smiled again. We call it mind over matter. Humans have run marathons with broken bones, survived impossible conditions, and lifted vehicles to save others, all by simply refusing to give up. And that, Professor Taiwan concluded, is why physical capabilities alone don't tell the whole story. Humans don't accept their limitations. They see them as challenges to overcome. As the class ended, the students watched Haenul leave. Their perspective forever changed. They had expected to see a monster, but instead they saw something more unsettling, a species that could be anything it needed to be. Dr. Jai-yun stood at the front of the lecture hall, holding up a simple wooden puzzle box. This is a human children's toy, she explained. Would anyone like to try opening it? Several students volunteered. A 6-tentacled being tried for 10 minutes, using advanced scanning technology. A crystalline entity attempted to analyze its structure through light refraction. None succeeded. Now watch, said Professor Taiwan. He projected a video of a 5-year-old human child solving the puzzle in under a minute. The class fell silent. But that's not fair, protested a student. The child must have been trained. No, Jai-yun replied. This was the child's first time seeing the puzzle. What you're witnessing is the human brain's natural ability to recognize patterns and solve problems. Taiwan changed the display to show human brain scans. Humans have an unusual mix of predator and prey instincts. They can switch between focused hunting behavior and prey-like heightened awareness in seconds. The display showed humans in various problem-solving situations: chess matches, emergency responses, scientific discoveries. Their brains evolved to track prey through complex environments. Now they use that same ability to solve abstract problems. But here's what makes them truly dangerous, Jai-yun added. She pulled up footage of early human space exploration. Look at this. When humans first went to space, their technology was primitive. Their vessels were death traps by our standards. They went anyway. The class watched in horror as footage played of early space missions. They sat on top of explosive fuel tanks, Taiwan explained, protected by technology less advanced than what we give our children as toys. The failure rate was high. The risk of death was extreme. And yet, Jai-yun continued, they not only continued but accelerated their space program. Where other species waited for safe technology, humans just accepted the risk. She switched to modern footage. In just 300 years, they went from those death traps to ships that rival our best technology. Why? Because their minds never stop hunting for solutions. A student raised a tentacle. But professor, surely their mental capabilities have limits. Taiwan smiled. That's the fascinating part. Humans don't believe in limits. When they encounter a problem, they see it as a challenge. When we tell them something is impossible, they take it as a personal insult. He displayed a timeline of human technological advancement. Look at this progression. Every major human breakthrough came after experts said it couldn't be done. Flight, space travel, faster than light drives. Humans achieved each one because someone told them they couldn't. It's their predator instinct, Jian explained. When they see a problem, they don't just want to solve it. They want to dominate it, master it, prove they can overcome it. And they never, ever give up. As the class ended, Taiwan left them with a final thought. Remember this. Humans are the only known species that deliberately seeks out problems to solve. They create puzzles for fun. They climb mountains because they're there. They explore space because it's hard. And that, students, is what makes their minds the most dangerous weapon in the universe. Professor Taiwan dimmed the lights in the lecture hall. The holographic display showed a dark ocean scene. Today, he said quietly, we discuss what truly sets humans apart, their relationship with fear. Dr. Jian activated a secondary display showing brain scans. Most species avoid what they fear. Humans do something very different. The ocean scene came alive, showing the human in primitive diving gear walking into the dark water. The date stamp showed it was from early human history. This human, Taiwan explained, knew there were dangerous creatures in the water. They had no advanced protection. The pressure could kill them. Yet they went in anyway. He switched to different scenes. Humans climbing tall mountains without safety gear, exploring deep caves, testing early flying machines. Every species feels fear, Jian said. But humans use fear as fuel. They get excited by it. They actively seek it out. A student raised their appendage. That's not rational behavior. It's a defect in their survival instinct. No, Taiwan corrected. It's their greatest strength. Watch this. He played footage of a human settlement during a natural disaster. The class watched as humans ran toward danger to help others. They feel fear just like we do, Jian explained. But they can choose to act despite it. Sometimes, because of it. The display changed to show modern human entertainment. People jumping from high places with thin cords attached to them, diving into deep ocean trenches, racing vehicles at dangerous speeds. They turned fear into a game, Taiwan said. They deliberately scare themselves for fun. Can you imagine any other species doing that? He brought up more brain scans. When humans face their fears and survive, their brains reward them. They become stronger, more confident. They learn to enjoy the very thing that once frightened them. The class watched in silence as the display showed humans exploring the most dangerous places in the galaxy. Volcanic planets, gas giants, the edges of black holes. And this, Jian added, is why many species misunderstand humans. They're not fearless. They're something far more dangerous. They're fear-conquering. Taiwan nodded. A fearless species would die out quickly. But a species that can master fear, that can use it as a tool, that's a species that can adapt to any challenge. The final image showed a human child learning to swim, initially afraid, but then laughing with joy. Remember, Taiwan concluded, humans don't just overcome their fears. They teach their children to do the same. Each generation starts afraid, learns to master that fear, and then seeks out new fears to conquer. As the lights came back up, the students looked unsettled. They had just learned something profound. Humans weren't dangerous because they didn't feel fear. They were dangerous because they refused to let fear control them. The lecture hall buzzed with excitement as student Du Hyun walked to the front. Unlike He Newell from the previous class, Du Hyun wasn't human. He was a member of the gas-dwelling mist species, floating in his containment sphere. Du Hyun spent 5 years living among humans, Professor Ta Won explained. He will share his observations about their social behavior. Du Hyun's sphere glowed as he spoke. When I first went to Earth, I expected to find dangerous predators. Instead, I found something more interesting. They adopted me. The class murmured in confusion. Taiwan displayed images of humans with various alien species. Humans have a unique ability we call universal pack bonding. They can form family-like bonds with virtually any species. They took me into their homes, Du Hyun continued. They learned to read my emotional color changes. They even modified their buildings to accommodate my environmental needs. One family insisted I join their holiday celebrations. Dr. Jae-yun brought up new data. This behavior stems from their evolution as social predators. Humans hunted in groups, shared food, raised young together. But they did something unusual. They extended this behavior to other species. The display showed ancient humans with domesticated animals. They began by forming bonds with Earth species, Taiwan explained. Dogs, cats, horses. They turned potential prey or competitors into family members. But here's the dangerous part, Du Hyun added. When humans accept you as family, they will protect you like family. I once saw my human host threaten a much larger alien who accidentally bumped into me. Jae-yun nodded. Humans apply their predatory instincts to protection. They don't just defend their own young. They defend anyone they consider part of their group. The display changed to show human diplomatic meetings. This is why humans are so successful in galactic politics, Taiwan said. They form genuine bonds with other species. They don't just make allies. They make friends. And enemies, a student pointed out. Yes, Du Hyun agreed. If you hurt someone a human considers family, they become more dangerous than any natural predator. They won't just fight you. They'll remember. They'll plan. They'll wait. Taiwan displayed historical data. Human warfare evolved from their hunting behaviors. They don't just fight with strength. They use strategy, deception, and most importantly, cooperation. But there's hope, Du Hyun concluded. Humans would rather make friends than enemies. They actively seek peaceful connections. In my 5 years on Earth, I learned that their greatest strength isn't their ability to fight. It's their ability to love. As the class ended, the students had a new understanding. Humans weren't just physical predators. They were social predators who could turn enemies into friends and friends into family. And that made them more formidable than any naturally aggressive species. Professor Taiwan placed 3 objects on his desk: a stone spear, a mechanical clock, and a quantum processor. These objects, he said, span just 50,000 years of human development. No other species has evolved this quickly. Dr. Jae-yun activated a timeline display showing human technological progress. Most species take millions of years to advance from simple tools to space travel. Humans did it in less than 10,000 years. The display showed early human settlements transforming into modern cities. They don't just create technology, Taiwan explained. They improve it constantly. They're never satisfied. A student raised an appendage. But Professor, many of their early inventions were weapons. Yes, Jae-yun agreed. But watch what happens next. The display showed how military technology led to civilian advances, radar becoming weather prediction, space rockets becoming exploration vessels, military networks becoming the global communication system. Humans turn weapons into tools, Taiwan said. Then they turned those tools into better weapons. Then better tools again. It's an endless cycle of improvement. The hologram showed human medical technology. They even weaponized healing, Jae-yun noted. They studied poisons to make medicines. They learned about radiation by trying to understand how it kills. They turned their predatory focus toward fighting death itself. Taiwan picked up the quantum processor. This device exists because humans wanted better computers for their games. They created an entire industry of entertainment technology, then used those advances to push their science forward. The display shifted to show human factories. They don't just make things, he continued. They make things that make things. They create tools to create better tools. Each generation builds on what came before, faster and faster. But here's the truly dangerous part, Jia added. She showed human children using advanced technology. They teach their young to use complex tools as soon as they can walk. Technology isn't just a tool for humans. It's become part of who they are. The final display showed humans working with alien technology. They don't fear new technology, Taiwan explained. They get excited by it. When they see something new, they don't just want to understand it. They want to improve it. Most species, Jia concluded, see technology as a means to an end. Humans see it as a challenge. They don't ask if something can be improved. They ask how many ways they can improve it. As the lecture ended, the students looked at their own technology with new eyes. They realized that human advancement wasn't just fast, it was accelerating, and there was no sign they would ever stop. Dr. Jia stood before the class, her expression serious. Today, we examine how humans think in crisis situations. She activated a hologram showing various human military conflicts throughout history. Notice how humans adapt their strategy, Professor Taiwan pointed out. They don't just learn from their mistakes. They learn from their enemies' successes. The display showed a series of battles where humans were initially outmatched but eventually prevailed. When humans face a stronger opponent, Jia explained, they don't give up. They get creative. Taiwan brought up tactical analyses. Humans have a unique ability to switch between different types of thinking. They can go from peaceful cooperation to tactical planning in seconds. The hologram showed a human emergency response team dealing with a space station crisis. Watch how they handle unexpected problems, he said. They don't panic. They don't freeze. They think faster. Their brains evolved to make quick decisions while hunting. Jia added. Now they apply that same ability to any crisis. They can process complex situations and make decisions faster than most species. The display changed to show human military training. They practice for disasters that haven't happened yet, Taiwan explained. They create artificial crises to test themselves. They deliberately put themselves under stress to improve their performance. A student raised their appendage. But isn't that wasteful? Training for things that might never happen. That thinking, Jia replied, is why humans survive disasters that destroy other species. They don't wait for problems. They prepare for them. The hologram showed human children playing strategy games. They train their young through play, Taiwan noted. Every human game teaches something. Strategy, resource management, team coordination. But here's the truly dangerous part, Jia continued. She displayed brain scans of humans in combat situations. Under threat, their minds become more focused, not less. Fear makes them think clearer, react faster. The final display showed humans defending an alien colony from space pirates. They apply their predatory instincts to protection, Taiwan concluded. They don't just fight. They hunt their enemies. They don't just defend. They eliminate threats. As the students left the lecture hall, they understood something new about humans. Their most dangerous weapon wasn't their technology or their strength. It was their ability to think like predators when they needed to, and like protectors when they chose to. Professor Taiwan looked across the lecture hall at his students. After 8 sessions, they had finally reached the conclusion of his controversial series. Today, he said, we put it all together. Why are humans the apex predators of the universe? The holographic display activated, showing everything they had covered. Dr. Jia stepped forward. It's not their strength. The display showed humans working alongside physically superior species. It's not their technology. Images of advanced alien civilizations appeared. It's not even their intelligence alone. It's their combination of traits, Taiwan explained. Humans are not the best at anything. They're good at everything. And that makes them unstoppable. The display showed humans in various situations, fighting wars, building cities, exploring space, helping other species. They can be warriors or diplomats, predators or protectors. They adapt to whatever role they need to play. Most importantly, Jiayun added, they never stop improving. The timeline showed human progress from caves to starships. Every challenge makes them stronger. Every failure teaches them something new. A student raised their appendage. But professor, if they're so dangerous, why haven't they tried to conquer the galaxy? Taiwan smiled. Because they're not just predators. They're social predators. They would rather make allies than enemies. They prefer to build rather than destroy. The hologram showed humans working with alien species to solve galactic problems. They turn their predatory instincts toward challenges, not conquest. They hunt for solutions, not victims. But never forget, Jiayun warned, what they're capable of. The display showed historical footage of humans defending their allies. If you threaten something they protect, they will stop at nothing to eliminate that threat. Taiwan nodded. The galaxy is lucky. Humans chose to be guardians instead of conquerors. They use their predatory nature to protect, not to dominate. The final display showed a human child playing with an alien child. This is their true power, he concluded. They can be whatever they need to be. Friends or enemies, builders or destroyers. And they passed these traits to each new generation. As the students filed out of the lecture hall for the last time, they carried with them a new understanding. Humans weren't dangerous because they were powerful. They were dangerous because they could become whatever they needed to be to survive and protect what they cared about. Professor Taiwan packed up his materials, satisfied. His controversial theory had been proven. Humans were indeed the apex predators of the universe, not because they were the strongest or most advanced, but because they could adapt, learn, and choose what kind of predators they wanted to be.